Well, hi there. Warm welcome. You're watching Times Now, and I'm Meghna Deka. Today, the focus is going to be on how and why it's important that the Khalistani guns fall silent. As you all know, one of India's most famous faces that we have on TV and comedians, Kapil Sharma. He is the latest one who has been threatened by the Khalistani thugs. Barely days after the comedian and his wife opened their first eatery, Caps Cafe in Canada, Surrey, it was attacked allegedly by Khalistani terrorists. They themselves have taken responsibility for the attack. What happened? Let's recap for those who don't know. Late last night, which was yesterday, on Wednesday, unknown miscreants fired multiple shots at the cafe and damaged the property. Despite this harrowing ordeal, Kapil Sharma's cafe has refused to submit. But first, we are going to relive that moment when you have the shooter relentlessly, indiscriminately firing at Caps Cafe, something which is owned by Kapil Sharma. Will show you what really happened and the way these bullets of Khalistani terrorists rained on peace-loving cafe where there could have been many innocent visitors. There could have been other innocent customers. However, the staff of Kapil Sharma was inside. Their lives were endangered by these bullets. Indiscriminately, you just saw how indiscriminately these bullets were rained at the cafe. But to their credit, Kapil Sharma's cafe has refused to submit to terror. In fact, in the statement that they have put out, you can see it behind me on their screens, the Caps Cafe has called the act of violence as heartbreaking, adding that they are still processing the shock. However, the establishment has vowed to not give up and to stand firm against violence. No matter what they have said, we stand firm against violence and we will not cower down. Who really did it? Let's tell you about the Khalistani terrorist Harjit Singh. He's part of the banned terror outfit Babbar Khalsa International. He has claimed responsibility for his attack in a post that he's put out. The Khalistani thug, the K-thug, who is accused of several targeted killings, including the murder of a VHP leader, is also under the NIA radar and remains absconding. So who really is this man? Let's explain to you what Laddi really stands and how he's not just a threat for India, Indians, but a global threat. Who's he? He's based out of Germany. He is someone who has a bounty of 10 lakh rupees. This is a bounty by NIA, India's NIA. He has been named in the NIA chart sheet as well. Why? Well, he has cases against him which are that linked to the murder of one of the VHP leaders. The charges that Laddi faces is that he recruited shooters, he arranged for arms, terror funding and plotting murders in Punjab. That's the man on your screen, Harjit Singh, who is currently hiding in Germany. He faces very serious charges, but he's still in hiding. But even from hiding in Germany, he manages to carry out strikes, such as the one that we saw in Canada last night. Harjit Singh Laddi claims that he was angry by certain jokes which were cracked on Kapil Sharma's show. This apparently was done not by Kapil Sharma, but by one of the participants in one of the shows of Kapil Sharma, who dressed up as a Nihang Sikh and carried out certain jokes which were allegedly offensive. Now you have Laddi coming out and saying that he was so offended by the jokes that he is the one who ordered the strike. Well, the Surrey police on their part, of course, they are investigating the case. No suspect, however, has been identified so far, despite the fact that all of this is on camera. They, of course, have CCTV, but no suspects have been captured. The cops are probing the motive behind this incident. Now, interestingly, viewers, this is not just the first time that a Punjabi icon has been targeted in Canada. Some of them back home as well. Kapil Sharma is just the latest one. Shots were fired at his cafe. But before that, remember, you have several others as well. You had Dhillon. Earlier this year, there were shots fired outside his residence in Canada as well. AP Dhillon. Just last year, 2024, there was firing outside AP Dhillon's house in Canada as well. These are just threats which were given out, essentially saying an ominous threat that could someday lead to something even more dangerous. Gippy Grewal, another one of the rappers, one of the Indian singers, in 2023 there were shots fired outside his residence as well. And not only this, there were several other singers who have also faced several harassments, and these are mostly Punjabi stars who have been under the radar. For example, let's remind you, in 2023 you had Jasmine Sandlas, who received death threats hours before a concert in Delhi. Of course, we all remember Sidhu Moosewala. He was shot dead in Mansa in Punjab in May 2022. There are others as well. Mankirat Aulak. In 2022, he was threatened and he was harassed by the Bembiha gang. Parmish Verma, 2018, he was injured in a gun shootout which had happened by a Punjabi gangster. All of these are people who have been targeted by those who have links to the Khalistani movement. The movement which doesn't exist in India per se, but exists and is breeding in Canada. The NIA, in the last several years, has launched several massive crackdowns on the Khalistani gangster network. They've prepared a list of over 17 notorious accused who have links with Canada and carrying out Khalistani agenda. Some of the notable names have been accessed by Times Now. I'm going to play out some of them. You have the first one, Satinderjeet Singh. He is, of course, better known as Goldi Brar. He was born in Punjab's Muktsar area. In fact, he's wanted in connection with murder as well as trafficking. Then, of course, you have Arshdeep Gill. He's better known as Arsh Dalla. He's originally from the Dalla village in Moga district of Punjab. He's associated with the KTF and ISYF. There's Lakhveer Singh Ladda, of course, Babbar Khalsa International's leader. He hails from Taran in Punjab, one of the key conspirators in planting IED in Amritsar. That's just to name a few of them. It's important that we understand how Canada now has become seemingly a safe haven for Khalistani terrorists. Top sources have in fact revealed how Khalistan is now getting a free run in Canada. Let's get you a look at all of this. What is it that has been done? Well, from Canada, they are operating freely for nearly 50 years, is what top Indian government sources have said in a dossier that they have presented to the Canadian government as well. They have pointed out a lot of this. They have linked to over half of Punjab terror cases as well. The Khalistani terrorists who are operating, calling the shots all the way from Canada. Niger was also targeted. Then there are Sikhs, Hindus, as well as Christians in Punjab have been targeted by Niger and his goons when he was alive. The Canadian agency did not, however, probe Niger, Dalla, or even Landa for that matter. They are also running extortion and drug racketeering from there. Punjab, as per the top Indian sources, they say that Punjab has been hit very hard by extortion, which is emanating out of Canada by these kind of gangsters. Canadian gangs are smuggling in Pakistani drugs into Punjab as well via drones. There's drug money, which is funding and going back into Canada. And not just that, Indian patriots have been targeted. Pro-India voices have been silenced by muscle and money and their bullets. Hindus have been threatened. Temples have been defaced in Canada, and even Sikhs are not spared. Any Sikh who speaks about peace, who speaks against terror, is not being spared either. Indian missions, of course, their diplomats, all of them have also faced open threats. So let me go across to two people who will perhaps help us understand what really is happening in Canada. You have Kushal Mehra joining us, author as well as a podcaster. We also have Dean Baxendale, an international publisher as well as columnist at the Sunday Guardian. Dean, I'm going to come to you first because all of this happened. The shooting which happened last night in Surrey essentially was a result of a Khalistani terrorist who simply did not get a joke. But things have changed politically as well in Canada, be it from Trudeau and now you have Carney. But is Khalistani appeasement still going to be part of the state policy? What's really changed?
Well, that's a great question, and certainly Mark Carney, our Prime Minister, has made it very clear that our relationship with India and with the Modi government is extremely important to our ambitions, certainly to adherence to trade with the United States. So moving back onto this, though, the Canadian intelligence and security apparatus has been well aware of the issues with respect to the Khalistani separatist and terrorist movement for, as you say, the better part of 50 years. I think at this juncture, I think the Canadian government and the Foreign Affairs Minister need to come out very strongly condemning this act on Canadian soil. Yet again, another example of terrorism that we've allowed to fester and basically be promoted by various Sikh extremist groups in Canada, as well as our political apparatus that has allowed this kind of action to continue unabated, without any charges, without anybody going to jail. So Canada needs to step up to the plate on this front. And this is not the only incident. It's not the only situation or issue vis-a-vis terrorism, extortion, and drugs, and being funded by illegal activities inside Canada and around the world.
Absolutely. And there are Canadians, too, who are caught in this crossfire that we have seen. But Kushal Mehra, here's the irony, isn't it? Their demand is a separate state of Khalistan. There are no takers for that in India. All the takers, all the funders, all the masterminds are sitting in Canada. Why? How is that even happening?
Because it's no longer a separatist movement. And this is what I keep hammering every single time, that the Khalistanis in Canada have understood what works very well in Canada. The essence of Canadian society now is victimhood epistemology. When you come across as a victim, people listen to you. And you use Khalistan as a veneer, and basically under the veneer is a very systematic crime syndicate that commits different sorts of crimes that includes extortion with and the targets are usually people of Indian origin or of the subcontinental origin. So you will see, extortion calls being made in Mississauga, in Brampton, in Surrey, British Columbia, shootouts, murders, drug peddling, because logistics are very important. The music industry is an integral part, as you showed in your opening remarks. You actually showed a number of musicians. Why are they? They're literally recreating the 80s and the 90s East Coast, West Coast gang wars in some absurd way here in Canada. Yeah, exactly. And we need to call it what it is. It is no longer a separatist movement. It's a criminal network. And the reason we don't call it a criminal network, listen, if this was any other group in Canada that would spew this level of bigotry against another group, they would be shamed to the limit that you cannot imagine. I don't know what the Khalistanis have on Canadian politicians. They must be having some really important stuff, because none of the Canadian political class ever touches them. Whether it's the Conservatives, whether it's the Liberals, whether it's the NDP, nobody. Yep, nobody touches them. The Khalistanis are untouchable in Canada.
And that's really ironic, because even the Indians there in Canada are against them. So where is the support coming from the political class? But Dean Baxendale, this is not a problem of India. It's not a problem of Indians being targeted. This is a problem of Canada now. When you have the likes of Ladda and the others, someone who's sitting in Germany, he has been named, he's the most wanted terrorist of the NIA. He's been named in charge sheets, but still managing to get his foot soldiers on the ground. There seems to be a systemic failure. From the intel to the execution, you have an entire shootout which has happened. All of it is on camera. You have, I'm very sure, very advanced CCTV coverage of Surrey as well. No arrests. Is this a larger cover-up, or is that one of the reasons, perhaps, the possible cover-up that we can see on our screens which has emboldened them?
Once again, this comes down to a lack of political will inside Canada to address a very significant problem vis-a-vis both transnational repression by various international governments, including the Chinese Communist Party, using criminal networks to undermine Canadian democracy. In this particular case, we see a situation where we've had Sikh sympathizers in our parliament. We've played diaspora or vote bank politics in these ridings, and these ridings where this money is buying votes and ultimately buying influence within the riding. MPs or local MNAs, members members of the Legislative Assembly, perhaps of British Columbia, remain silent to these issues. But it's time that we got a backbone in Canada, and our Prime Minister has to demonstrate that Canadian values and the protection of freedom of speech and our right to enjoy Canada and to enjoy the democracy is supported. It's not being supported, and we're allowing these terrorists, which are part of an organized crime group, to run rampant, run free in our country. This has to stop.
In fact, for example, the Sidhu Moosewala encounter which had happened, the way he was shot dead, he was ambushed, he was shot dead, all of this happened in India, but Sidhu Moosewala's murder was all orchestrated way back in Canada. But Kushal Mehra, when you have, for example, Kapil Sharma's cafe being targeted in Surrey, Kapil Sharma, of course, lives in Mumbai. We know that now there is a Mumbai police team which went there. They're going to be guarding him day and night. Of course, there are rumors doing the rounds that this may be possible extortion racket which may have gone wrong. We'll wait for that probe to come to an end. But at the end of it, lives of Canadians were put at risk as well. What is going to be the cost of Khalistani appeasement for Canada, for the Canadians inside when this shooting happened? We're going to put up that video of the shooting also which happened. You could hear one shot after the other being indiscriminately fired inside the cafe while the staff were there. There could have been customers. Silver lining is there were no customers in. You can see that video, indiscriminate firing which had happened. There were Canadians inside. Kushal Mehra, what's going to be the price? The price, unfortunately, in cases like this, may not be paid by India. It may be paid by Canadians as well.
It's going to be economic and human both. I take you back to the 80s. India had sent dozens of extradition requests to Canada for Talvinder Singh Parmar. The Canadians never sent him back, and it ended up being the most horrific terrorist attack in the history of Canada. My biggest worry is they seem to learn no lessons. The Premier of British Columbia, I have to share the story, David Eby, recently, a few weeks ago, wrote this letter that the Lawrence Bishnoi gang needs to be declared a terror outfit. Completely supported. Please, Premier Eby, do that. But you know what the funny bit is? The government of India has sent a dossier of specific names that are part of the Lawrence Bishnoi gang to the government of Canada to be extradited back to India. The Canadians don't send them back. I don't understand what happens in Canada. When the Indians want the criminals back in India, they say your paperwork is not enough. And then the Canadians will sit on the floor of the house and chide India like a 2-year-old. I have never understood this. It's almost as if performative outrage is the only thing you can expect in Canada. This is going to cost economically. So let's assume, from what I understand, Caps Cafe is initially set to be opening up three joints. Let's assume it would have taken off. It could have opened up 20 more joints. Who was Caps Cafe going to hire? They were going to hire Canadians.
Yes.
It's an economic loss for Canada, but the Canadian political class is oblivious to the fact.
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree with you more. The price which is going to be paid, not just in India, in Canada, of course, this is a global threat. This is not just restricted to one district of India, one state of India. It is a global threat, the Khalistani terrorists today. Interestingly, the man who ordered the shootout is sitting in Germany. He's part of the Babbar Khalsa International, which is a proscribed terrorist organization, not just in India. In Canada as well, they are still carrying out terror attacks. Look at the irony of it all. Perhaps Kushal Mehra and Dean Baxendale rightly summed it all. It wouldn't have happened without the political will. We'll have to wait and see if the political will can now swing to ensure that the Khalistani guns are silenced. Thank you so much. I appreciate both of you joining us. With that, a short break. Don't go anywhere.